Good afternoon, everyone. This is Stephen Konarik with the Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch with today's Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing. There are two significant weather hazards going on across our waters in the Atlantic Basin. First off is post-tropical cyclone Milton, which is moving quickly eastward away from Florida today while slowly weakening. But for areas north of 25 north, this will bring winds of 50 to 65 knots and seas of 20 to 30 feet through the weekend. Similar conditions are going to be brought by Hurricane Leslie farther to the east. Leslie is moving slowly to the north and is going to curve toward the northeast Friday, then accelerate into the weekend while slowly weakening. But again, winds of 50 to 65 knots and seas of 20 to 30 feet are expected across our northern waters, north of about 23 north, between 45 west and 55 west. Taking a closer look at Milton, Milton became post-tropical this afternoon, meaning that it's lost its tropical characteristics, but it's still producing the same hazards as it has been through the day, with some hurricane-force winds close to the center and a broad and expanding area of strong tropical storm-force winds, as well as very rough seas surrounding it. And for that reason, storm warnings are in effect for most waters north of 25 north. You can see here, based on the track, Milton will continue moving east while just slowly weakening to the south of Bermuda for the remainder of the week and into the weekend. As for Hurricane Leslie, Leslie is expected to weaken into a tropical storm tonight, then eventually become post-tropical this weekend while moving to the northeast and north of our area. Hurricane warnings are out for an area roughly in this area, but then some tropical storm warnings farther to the north and east. Aside from our two main hazards, taking a look at the tropics, there is a tropical wave that emerged off the coast of Africa today. This system does have about a 20% chance over the next couple of days of some tropical development in and around the Cabo Verde Islands. But regardless of development, the system should remain in the far eastern Atlantic. So let's take a look at the forecast wind and wave conditions over the next 5 days, starting with this evening. On the left-hand side, you'll see wind speeds and wave heights in feet on the right-hand side. And the main areas that you'll see on this map are Hurricane Milton, which again has now become a post-tropical cyclone off the coast of the southeastern United States, and then the much smaller but no less significant weather impacts coming from Hurricane Leslie. Both of these systems will be producing hurricane-force winds as well as seas of 20 to 30 feet in fairly broad areas across the Atlantic. Heading into tomorrow, Friday, for Friday morning, storm conditions will prevail across a large area of the waters between the Bahamas and Bermuda due to the post-tropical cyclone Milton, with continued tropical storm conditions associated with the slightly weaker tropical storm Leslie off to the east. Seas, very broad area of rough to very rough seas anywhere north of the Bahamas between Florida and Bermuda, and then a smaller area of quite hazardous seas a little to the east, of 55 west and to the north of 25 north. Looking ahead into Saturday, we'll continue to have our two main systems producing gale force winds, with my first circle here associated with Milton, and then what is forecast to be Tropical Storm Leslie, getting closer up to 30 north, but still impacting our waters with the strong winds and the rough to very rough seas. Farther on into the weekend, by Sunday morning, you'll see Leslie in the very far northeastern tip of the area, pushing out with the remnants of Milton weakening southeastward of Bermuda, but still causing some near gale force winds, probably still some gales, and seas of 10 to 12 feet, possibly higher. Looking ahead into next week, things begin to quiet down finally. By Monday morning, you can kind of see the remnants of Milton here, causing a little bit of elevated seas and winds, but conditions becoming quite a bit less hazardous, and we now begin to see a trade wind dominant regime over the tropical Atlantic as well as the Caribbean, which will be causing some fresh winds and seas of 5 to 7 feet being the main area of interest by the start of next week. And finally, into Tuesday, conditions have improved across our northern waters. There's actually a high pressure area building in now to the south and east of Bermuda, with these trade winds causing fresh winds as well as seas of 5 to 7 feet across our southern waters. Gulf of Mexico, quiet, and we don't expect any headlines for gales or any other marine hazards on Tuesday. So in summary, we've got our two tropical systems that are causing the weather hazards for areas mainly north of 25 north. Post-tropical cyclone Milton off to the north of the Bahamas will be pushing east, and then farther east, Hurricane Leslie will be weakening and moving eventually north and east of our area. But until they do, winds of 35 to 65 knots and seas of 15 to 30 feet will be present across waters north of 25 north and really anywhere west of 40 west could be experiencing these conditions over portions of the time frame into the weekend. These conditions expanding east and then gradually improving as we go on through the weekend, with much better conditions expected for the early part of next week. Thanks for listening to today's briefing. We'll be sending out another briefing by Sunday, October 13th at 6 p.m.